Hello and welcome to KLM Institute. Today, we turn our attention to a devastating humanitarian crisis unfolding in Sudan, where the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces launched a violent rampage in the province of Gezira, killing over 120 civilians. This brutal attack, lasting several days, has raised urgent concerns within the United Nations and among human rights organizations. Let's break down what happened, the broader context, and the growing calls for international intervention. Sudan has been entrenched in a grueling war for over a year and a half, with clashes primarily between the Sudanese military and the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary group with a violent legacy. This latest episode saw RSF fighters storming villages on the eastern and northern sides of Gezira between October 20th and 25th, targeting civilians with gunfire, looting properties, and committing sexual violence against women and girls. The United Nations condemned these attacks as atrocious crimes, marking a painful echo of past atrocities in Sudan's troubled history. According to the Sudanese Doctors' Union and reports from the United Nations, over 46,500 people have been displaced in Gezira due to this assault. In the town of Tambul and surrounding villages, communities have faced not only loss, but also the terror of continued violence. Footage shared online shows RSF fighters intimidating and abusing detained civilians, a stark reminder of the immense suffering inflicted by this conflict. This massacre is reminiscent of the horrors seen in Darfur during the early 2000s, when the Janjaweed militias, now part of the Rapid Support Forces, were infamous for their mass killings and genocidal violence. The RSF's roots trace back to these Arab militias, once mobilized by ex-President Omar al-Bashir. Over 2 decades later, the group's brutal tactics persist, perpetuating trauma and widespread human suffering. The situation on the ground. As the conflict rages on, the Sudanese military has recently gained ground, reclaiming territories across Sudan. In September, it launched a major offensive in the capital, Khartoum, reclaiming strategic areas from the RSF. The momentum shifted further in early October with the capture of Jebel Moya in Gezira. However, these gains by the military have been met with harsh reprisals by RSF forces, particularly in Gezira, seen as loyal to defectors such as Abu Akla Keikal, a former RSF commander who recently surrendered to the military. Humanitarian organizations have decried the lack of access to these conflict areas, with the Sudanese Doctors' Union calling on the United Nations Security Council to intervene and open safe corridors for aid workers. There is no way to help the injured or evacuate them for treatment. Their statement read, highlighting the grim reality on the ground. What's next? The international community now faces a pivotal moment as calls for accountability and humanitarian aid intensify. UN officials like Clementine and Quetta Salami have urged the world to act swiftly, emphasizing that millions of lives are in the balance. International agencies, regional bodies, and human rights advocates agree that, without coordinated intervention, the violence could further devastate Sudan and destabilize the entire region. The tragedy unfolding in Sudan is a reminder of the critical importance of peace accountability and the protection of civilian lives. As we await further updates, KLM Institute remains committed to bringing you in-depth analysis on pressing global issues. Please like, share, and subscribe to stay informed on stories like this, as well as the broader impact of international human rights and conflict resolution efforts. Thank you for joining us, and stay safe.